Hi guys, my name's Nadine. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my wrap up. This is a wrap up for November and December 2024 because in November I only read 4 books and I think 3 of those were MC Beaton, so I thought I'll just hold on to them and do a larger wrap up in the new year. And here we are. So yeah, I've got 9 books to show you today. So, back in November then, the first book that I finished was an MC Beaton, Death of a Perfect Wife. This was the 4th book in the Hamish Macbeth series. So in this one, Hamish is having some personal problems of his own. The woman that he is in love with, Priscilla, returns to their Highland village with a new fiance in tow. So Hamish is kind of quite low spirits. But also at the same time there are some other newcomers to the village. So there is Trixie and her husband, who's a bit of a lapdog. Trixie is like the perfect wife. You know, everything's all healthy and the house is clean and everything is just so. And she starts to turn the heads of the other women in the village. And so they all start making changes to their lives, leaving some very unhappy men who actually would just rather have fish and chips than, you know, couscous or whatever. So then when Trixie is murdered, it falls to Hamish to find out what's going on. I quite enjoyed this one. And yeah, it was a fun ride, as MC Beaton stories are. So the next book that I finished was Daisy Miller and the Turn of the Screw by Henry James. So Daisy Miller follows the story of Daisy Miller, who is a young wealthy woman travelling Europe with her family. She runs into a fellow American, Winterbourne, his name was, and he falls for her, as a lot of men seem to. She's somewhat of a coquette. So she is very, very flirtatious with a lot of men, and she flouts conventions. She goes out with men unchaperoned, and there is talk about her wherever she goes. So Winterbourne is trying to sort of get to the bottom of, is this actually who she is? Does she know that she's behaving poorly? Or is she just ignorant, or does she just not care? I really, really enjoyed this story. I definitely would like to read more Henry James. The next one in that collection then was The Turn of the Screw, and this follows a young governess who is sent to this remote home to look after these 2 orphan children. But she soon becomes obsessed with the idea of this house being haunted and that there are malevolent spirits stalking the children. Again, this was an excellent story. I very much enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to digging into some more Henry James in the future. Next then, Agatha Raisin. So it's Agatha Raisin and the Deadly Dance by MC Beaton. This is number 15 in the Agatha Raisin series, so I'm almost halfway through that series, I think. I think this is 30 something, I'm not sure. So in this one, Agatha has finally started her own detective agency, but she's kind of down about the fact that she's getting a lot of very small cases, you know, like missing pets and things like that, and it's not quite the Raymond Chandler novel that she had in mind. So finally though, she does get a bigger case when this wealthy divorcee comes in who's been receiving death threats. So Agatha goes to investigate that, and she's forced to take on some help in the form of her new neighbour, who is, for a change, not a handsome man, but in fact an older woman. So yeah, Agatha hires her, and then there is in fact a murder which Agatha believes to be connected, but there is quite a lot of other things going on, so Agatha is having to try and unravel these cases whilst also dealing with her own insecurities and her own jealousies. I really enjoyed this one. It was there was a lot more layers to it than than Agatha Raisin stories generally are. So yeah, Agatha as a character is very, very enjoyable. She's real, you know, she's a very real character. She has a lot of flaws, and I think that's what makes her so popular. So yes, that was a good addition to the series. Next then, still MC Beaton, back to Hamish Macbeth, back into the Scottish Highlands with Death of a Hussy, which is number 5 in the series. So let me read my notes to remind myself, because there was a lot of MC Beaton. Okay, so, yes. So wealthy Maggie, she lives with her niece, who she's not very kind to at all. Her niece she's not a young woman. She's a young woman. She's, I think, in her early 30s, something like that. Late 20s, early 30s. But she is very downtrodden, frumpy. She just takes all of the abuse that Maggie heaps on her. Maggie was something special in her younger days. You know, very good looking, had a lot of life experience, shall we say. And then she decides that actually she's fed up of being a single woman, and she invites 4 of her favourite former lovers to come and stay in a big house party, where she's going to choose which one of them she will marry. She's quite confident that whoever she chooses will accept it, because she has investigated them all and she knows that they could all do with the money. So she's quite happy with the fact that they're just going to marry her for that, and then she'll get a bit of company. But yeah, she's not a nice woman, and then she gets murdered. She's in the car while it sets on fire. Hamish Macbeth has to come along and work out who did it. Everybody's got motive, everybody's got means. So yeah, it was a fun story. Yeah, I enjoyed the characters in this one. Next, we move away from MC Beaton for a bit. And I read The Walking Dead book 12. This one, we're still along the storyline of the Whisperers, and Carl making poor decisions, and dragging his dad Rick into it all. It was a good time, always is. Negan's still kicking around in the background as well, which is always fun. Negan's one of my favourite characters. But it's one of those times, actually, I think, with characters where the TV show did it better. I like Negan in the comics, but the TV show Negan was just chef's kiss, perfect. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I've got the next one to read as well. I got it for Christmas, so I'm a very lucky girl. Next, I finally, after it being on my TBRs so many times for the last few years, read The Fall, which is the second book in the Strange trilogy by Del Toro and Chuck Hogan. So yes, the poop is well and truly hitting the fan in this one. I can't remember the characters' names, how awful is that? Oh, Dr. Ephraim Goodwinter, how do you forget a name like that? He's working to try and stop what's happening. There's this plague going around turning people into vampires, and yeah, he and his family, or he and his son and his girlfriend, have sort of gone underground, and yeah, lots and lots of gore, lots of violence, and some really horrible scenes where with the mother is, yeah, it's good. I enjoy that. Next, I read The Christmas Tree Farm, which is the 3rd in the Dream Harbour series of books. I don't know if there's going to be more or not, or if that's it now, by Laurie Gilmore. I think it was the only Christmas book that I actually read this year. And it follows Kira, who is this wealthy 20-something woman who wants to get away from under the thumbs of her parents and make her own way in life. She's always had help from other people to do absolutely everything, you know, raised by nannies, that kind of thing. And so she's sort of seduced by social media and seeing all these, you know, picture perfect homesteads and things like that, she decides to buy a Christmas tree farm in Dream Harbour, despite the fact that she actually hates Christmas. where she can make pickles and have everything very aesthetically pleasing. Then there is Bennett, who decides to come and stay over Christmas with his sister, who was the main character in the first book. I forget her name. I'm rubbish with names. And he keeps running into Kira, and sparks start to fly. He likes to fix things. She doesn't want anything to do with him to start with. I'm not going to say anything more because I think we all kind of know where it goes. And that's why you read books like this, because it's kind of comfortable. You know what's going to happen, and it's just, you know, it just does. It was fine. I enjoyed it. It was, I think the first one was my favourite. This one I would say second. The second book in the series I think was the weakest. But yeah, I enjoyed it overall. As I said, it was the only Christmas book that I read. Normally I do try to read a few in December, but I just wasn't feeling it. Although I did have a lovely festive Christmas, I just wasn't feeling the reads. Or the films actually. Normally I'd go for loads of like Hallmark type Christmas films, and I didn't do that. I watched one. So yeah, I don't know. New thing. Alright, back to MC Beaton, Death of a Snob, which is number 6 in the Hamish Macbeth series. So this is about a woman called Jane who runs a health farm on this like little Highland island. And she goes to see a fortune teller who tells her that she's going to die very soon. And so she's completely freaked out by this, and Priscilla recommends asking Hamish for his advice, which she does, and she ends up inviting Hamish to come and stay with her over Christmas to do a bit of detective work and see if there is actually anything to be nervous about. Hamish decides to accept because he was going to stay with his family, but he is no longer welcome. I won't say any more. But yeah, he goes and finds that at first he thinks that actually it's just all in her head, so she's just going for a free holiday basically and free food and board over Christmas. But then he starts to suspect that actually there is something more going on. Another good instalment in the series. Oh, there was one here that I read that isn't on my list. I read 10 books. So that was The House of Last Resort by Christopher Golden. So this was one that I was really looking forward to, and it was one of the ones on my list of 50 books I have to read before I can buy any more. So these two were both on the list, so I'm 2 in to that, and it's only taken me, when did that start? It's only taken me like 2 months or something like that. This is going to be a really long challenge. So yeah, The House of Last Resort. I was really looking forward to this. This follows a young couple who buy a house in Sicily. It's one of the €1 deals. I don't know if you've seen those. Some villagers in Sicily and Italy have offered their dilapidated houses for €1. So you can buy them, but you have to, I've looked into this in the past, you have to commit to going over and having the work done in like a set period of time. You don't have to, anyway, I'm about to start giving you a lecture on the building codes and stuff over there. Not going to do it. But yeah, it is a real thing, which is probably one of the reasons that it quite intrigued me, because it was an offer that quite intrigued me anyway. So they move over there because the guy's, Tommy, his family come from this little village where they've bought the home, and his grandparents still live there, so he wants to go and forge a closer relationship with them because he grew up kind of apart from that side of the family. But it was, the move was driven really by his wife Kate. But they buy their dream place, they start renovating it, and weird things start to happen. Obviously they don't believe any of this nonsense, but then they find out that their house has a history, shall we say, which is very much not remaining history. It was a good read overall. It was my first book by Christopher Golden. I would definitely look at other books by him, but I wouldn't say it quite hit the mark of what I was hoping for. But overall an enjoyable read. I think I gave it like 3 out of 5 on Goodreads. So yeah, It was a nice, quick, fun read. And then finally I dipped back into the world of Discworld with The Light Fantastic by Terry Pratchett. So this is the second book in Discworld series, and we're still with Rincewind, who is in the first book and is in many of them for most of this story. So basically Great Atwin, the turtle that is travelling through space with Discworld on his back, is hurtling through space now towards the sun, and nobody knows why. They just know that, you know, it's starting to have an effect and that they're going to be burned up imminently. Discworld, Rincewind and Two Flower and the luggage are on the case. It is so much fun. There's things going on at Unseen University as well. Pratchett just has crafted this wonderful, wonderful world. I love Discworld. I've read all of the books in the past and I'm starting to reread them again now. Yeah, I think I spent a lot of my life in Discworld when I was growing up, so it's really, really nice to be back. So that was the last book that I read in not January, December. Oh my gosh. Yeah, December. So they are the books. So it was 10 books I think then in total, not 9. I did okay actually. That's not bad. Not bad going. I'm reading some good stuff this month as well. So hopefully I will have another cool update for you soon on those. But yeah, that is it. I will catch you guys very soon. Let me know what you thought of these. And yeah, we'll have a chat. See you soon guys. Bye.